here are some of the differences with the traditional budgeting process. The traditional budgeting process, if you see on the first part of the screen, the traditional method requires to look at the pattern of the past expenses and their relationship to the revenue activities. So in a traditional method, typically the CFO or the finance head would sit down together with CEO and would come up with some kind of numbers. Those numbers would be based on the maybe a discussion of the market, how much market share we want to increase, how much revenue we think we can increase, what would be the resource allocation defined by the management, and say these are the maximum numbers or maximum expenses we can incur. Now every department is going to use those method and make an estimate for the budget year based on the estimated revenue, based on the estimated sales, based on the number of people that we think we can hire, number of customers we will be targeting, number of campaigns which we will be allowed to run, and then we make an estimate of our revenues, we make an estimate of our expenses, we make an estimate of everything else which is required for the business, and then we compile them all and send to finance, and finance will compile the results, look at the profit and loss statement, look at the ratios which are resulting from this exercise, and then say okay, this reach our budget or reach our expectations or not, and then it may require some iterations, because usually the budget is not done in one time. That the numbers are given, the and the departments are required to prepare their budgets. Once the department prepare their budget, the company's budget is consolidated, and then relook at again whether the required ROI, whether the required return on equity, whether the required return on the profitability are achieved or not. If not, the CFOs and the CEO is going to make an adjustment of the resources required and say, hey, this is what is not possible. We are going to give you 10% lower, or we need another 15% of revenue ad hoc, right? This is not based on any scientific formula, but that's the traditionally the budget process is done, and that's why it takes about 2 months to 3 months to carry out an budgeting exercise. Now that is not the same with the zero based budgeting. Now how zero based budgeting is different. So zero-based budgeting is going to look at the past patterns and we reset them to zero. And we say, okay, even though we have been spending this money in the past, we are not going to look at them again. And we are going to look at what do we really need now in order to achieve our business. So we will start with what we can do. What are the target customers? What are the possible sales? What will be the approach channels? What will be the sales channels? What do we need in order to achieve those sales? What will be the cost of traveling, cost of marketing spend, cost of brochures, collaterals, what we need? Usually we don't look at what we have already, because they may not be, unless they are reusable. If they are reusable, then it's fine. If they are not reusable, then it means they are a sunk cost, right? You cannot say that I already have contracts for doing doing the advertisement in, let's say, BBC, but if BBC is not catering to the market that we are going to acquire now, no matter what you have the contracts, you are not going to place an ad in the BBC just because you have a contract. Now you would need to justify and say what is the new channel for making the advertisement, or what are the new collateral that we need in order to achieve our sales. And then we would look at also the alternative methods of each option. So typically we will make the decision making units and say these are the additional options that we think we can do. For example, in hotels now, after the coronavirus things, the traditional way of cleaning the rooms is not effective because there are still germs left, so you need fogging machine. You have options of different chemicals. You have option of either buying a spray machine and get it done by your own staff, which means you need to train them, which means you may need to buy the PPE, which means you may need to buy the chemicals, or the other way is you outsource everything out and hire the outside companies. So you don't need to train your staff, you don't need to find the PPE, you just need to pay for their services. Now, this kind of decision requires a very careful evaluation of the options that we have, not only the financial options but also the non-financial aspects of these decisions, and say that okay, what are the costs of doing this, what are the benefits of doing this for each and every option, and then we compile the overall method, overall action plan after looking at the different options, and then we will compile them up together and say this is our budget is going to be. Now this budget is more relevant compared to traditional method because we have thought through of each and every single resource that we need in the business, every single activity that we are going to plan into the business, and we make the plan communicable to the lowest possible department head. That is how it's different from the zero traditional method of doing the budget.